Here's today's severe thunderstorm outlooks. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. I'm recording this right around 1 o'clock Central Daylight Time, and I wanted to show you these were the wind gusts reported from Iowa, but really emphasizing the Chicagoland area here. This is just from this morning, a rapidly moving Boeing segment that continues to move rapidly through Indiana as I record this. But look at all these 90 plus mile per hour wind gusts. We got a 96 mile per hour wind gust. Just for reference, that's just off to the west of Joliet. Another one, 91 mile per hour wind gust down there around Kankakee, and others embedded in there as well. And a lot of 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts as well, even when this thing initiated earlier this morning up in Iowa. So it kind of weakened a little bit and then just decided to get furious as it went through west and southwest and south areas of Chicagoland. So very interesting, and I'll show you where the threat area has moved to today in a minute. I did want to show you the EPS mean 500 millibar flow starting yesterday. So this is for the next 7 days. How's the 500 millibar pattern, the jet stream pattern, going to look? This is basically a hot dome right here. And then we still have this thunderstorm slide set up, especially for the next few days of this pattern. And if you look at dew points for that same thing, look how they're gathered together here right along the convergence of that front. So that's a real giveaway that we have a lot of activity still ongoing here today, tomorrow, the next day. And also you can see the monsoon flow where moisture is finally returned into the areas of Nevada and the Four Corners area, and especially Arizona. And that at least gives you some hope that rain might form as a result of that at the higher humidities being able to support more robust, possibly thunderstorms in the afternoon. And then finally, we'll look at the supercell composite for the next 7 days. So 30% probs still showing up, especially for the next few days. I show this to you because it really emphasizes where the severe weather is going to be, especially for the next couple of days. So let's go and take a look at the rest of today. These are the late morning updates for today. I think they're issued at 11:30 roughly. And we have the slight risk up here in the Dakotas, but also the enhanced risk that was modified yesterday afternoon to include all this area. So there was some forewarning that these thunderstorms are going to get crazy. But even as this is posted, these storms have already made progress to about that red line, even more to the southeast probably. So it might be that this area here already needs to be cut off. But, this Storm Prediction Center can't possibly take this outlook and keep it up there like that. That's what watches and warnings and mesoscale discussions are for, obviously. But we will zoom in on this. Again, just keep in mind that most of this thunderstorm has surged to about there, but still enhanced risks, especially wind and some embedded tornadoes are possible. In fact, they even had a separate thunderstorm cluster around Columbus, Ohio, this morning that flipped a car on a highway. I saw that on Weather Nation. So it's really crazy weather, especially Illinois. They have just gotten rocked as far back as March. Remember the Kankakee tornadoes? And so it's been crazy. Anyway, so that's the enhanced risk for today. The tornado risk is at 2%. Now, I do think thunderstorm regeneration is possible back here, so I don't want to discount that as a possibility. That does not need to be truncated. But we do have that risk of a weak tornado, especially in the embedded part of the thunderstorm line. Any curls that develop are possible tornado producers, but that goes all the way over into West Virginia for later on this evening. Again, the severe wind risk was modified to put this intensity 2 hatching right ahead of the squall line as it existed at 11:30. I would just go ahead and move that ahead of the squall line. So if you look at radar wherever you live and you see it coming, yeah, you're in this area here. So there's a little bit of an enhanced probability of hurricane force winds, about 17% chance of it being right around there and a little bit greater. And if you add up the chance of it being greater than 75 miles per hour or greater, that's 17 plus 4 is 21. So we're looking at 23% chance, or about, a quarter of a percent chance the wind will get that gusty. And even if not, look at how much of this is included in the intensity 1 category right here. And of course, the shading is the 30% chance of a 59 mile per hour wind gust or higher within 25 miles of any point you pick. Now, there's not much hail with this part of the storm, but remember the other slight risk back here in the Dakotas, there is an intensity 1 assignment to that one, and that is mostly in pretty rural areas of western South Dakota especially, but the Rapid City area is probably the one you recognize the most. On NATOcast here, they do have two products worth showing here. The tornado risk is at 5%. Again, this was issued from the 12Z data, so a lot of that right there is probably the early morning squall line, but there I think is a possible for regeneration back here, and a little bit around Rapid City too, even though the Storm Prediction Center didn't really emphasize it. But everybody's in agreement about where this wind stuff is headed. This is barreling back down now through Indiana, into southern Ohio, into eastern Kentucky, over into West Virginia. Probabilities of 60% of severe wind gusts within 25 miles of a point, and a 10% chance in that hatched area of a 75-mile-per-hour wind gust. So, batten down the hatches. Cincinnati, it's heading toward you. Columbus may get a second round, too. On CSU, the tornado risk is about the same area, maybe a little more north. The wind risk has a bullseye right over Columbus, Ohio. And so, yeah, it's basically a wind machine with embedded tornadoes and not much of a hail risk. Then we turn the page to Wednesday. Still that slight risk area out here in Nebraska and South Dakota. It sinks southward a little bit from today's outlook. And still this area we need to watch in southern Illinois, Indiana, parts of Kentucky for Wednesday. Now, on CSU, not much mention of tornado frequency or hail for that matter, but wind is still being emphasized weekly there through the Mississippi River Valley and Missouri River Valley, I should say, too. And then the wind risk maximizes there over Virginia, the Carolinas, parts of West Virginia, and Kentucky for Wednesday. For Thursday, a subdued pattern here with only a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5, in an elongated area from Nebraska and Kansas way over into Cincinnati once again. But once again, this is a battleground, so we could get some enhanced areas here. There's still a strong jet stream flow, lots of unstable air, so this certainly has room to be modified between now and 2 days from now. Thursday does put a smattering of tornado risk along that same area, kind of a hint there. Hail this time of year hardly ever registers very high, but that may change. I don't think so. Not enough cold air aloft really to support that. But the wind is two areas there in Kansas and another one there in the Carolinas back westward a little bit toward Indiana. And I do want to show Friday because there are at least some larger areas at 15% risk. You might paint these as being possible SPC highlight areas when they feel the confidence is high enough to issue such a forecast. And if it were to be issued, it would show up on this panel right alongside this one. Then we'll finally finish up here with week 2, supercell composite, the 18th through the 24th. Same corridor, maybe shifted north a little bit, but this area is getting pounded. Chicago area is still in this, so is Minneapolis, Iowa, the Dakotas. So this really continues as we have this cool, stable air up here. Warm and humid air here, hot in many places, of course, and the jet stream flowing right between them. And then even week 3, the 25th through the last day of August, we still see this area. It's sinks south, and the percentages are not as high. But again, like I said in yesterday's video, it's the pattern I'm more concerned about than the actual percentages, because I think the percentages have room to increase as you get closer to this time period. Though the pattern has been pretty consistent, so we still have this battleground area set up here for roughly the next 3 weeks. That it'll take some breaks, of course, as little disturbances move on through the system. But the overall pattern is for severe weather to continue into a month that generally sees it quiet down a little bit. That, of course, would be August.